Today's show is brought to you in part by us, In the Money Media, and our In the Money Plus service. We give you a lot of free content. That's never going to change, but we give extra shows, and we also give digests of the picks from the late week show, at least, sometimes some extra stuff as well. There'll be great content coming up for Breeders' Cup as well. You don't want to miss out on that. It's also just a nice way to support us. We love the idea of being supported by the industry, but we really love the idea of being supported by horse players because it just means we can create all that much more and cutting edge content for you, taking chances and having some fun along the way over at In the Money Plus. Do us a favor and sign up today. For more information, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. You'll sign up to our free newsletter, and that will funnel you towards the Plus service. We hope to see a lot of you over there. Going to be a lot more special content coming up soon. inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show that we're recording Friday, September 3rd, covering racing for the 4th and the 5th. We've got some Sunday action baked in a bit later on today's show with the start of the Kentucky Downs meet. 6 days of full fields and turf action. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show. But we're going to get started with an old friend I can't wait to speak with right after this. It's been so great working with our friends at NYRA this summer, doing a couple of live shows over there, doing all these segments, doing the extra shows for the $1 Pick 6 carryover. What a great and profitable Saratoga meet it has been. Well, somewhat profitable. I gave back most of that, but it's been a lot of fun, if nothing else. And we kick things off, we close things out, I should say, with the Jockey Club Gold Cup Betting Challenge, a $3,000 contest. You can play through NYRA Bets. You can play live on track at NYRA. It closes early, so you're going to want to go and check this out. Go to NYRA.com to get all the details about this Jockey Club Gold Cup Betting Challenge, or look for information over at NYRABets.com. Get involved. We want to see your name on the leaderboard. NYRABets.com. So thrilled to kick off the show this week, bringing back one of my favorite guests, somebody I've had the pleasure of talking to on air many times. Before that, I used to have the pleasure of pointing at the host on the side of the stage at Ciro's when it was his turn to talk, and then he'd bring this man in with a series of accolades. I mean, where to begin? He really needs no introduction, but we'll just call him a successful publisher, an author, and above all, horse player. My friend and mentor, Steven Crist. How are things, Steve?
Hey, things are good, Pete. It's Saratoga, closing weekend. How can things not be good?
I mean, there will be tears in many an eye on Monday, but I have to say, I'm also a little bit ready to go home at this point in the meet. Have you been up here much, and how's your meet gone personally?
I've been up there 3 times to watch our own horses run now that I'm dabbling in horse ownership. So I've made a few trips up and back for that. My meet started out great, then really hit bottom at the midway point, and I'm furiously rallying as we approach the final days.
I'm very glad to hear that. That's excellent. I referred to the old Ciro's shows, of course, right on the eve of this Saratoga meet. We got the terrible news about losing Harvey Pack. I've been meaning to just reach out to you and talk about that. You were certainly one of his favorite guests ever, and somebody he always used to love to talk about and hear your opinions on horse racing. What did your relationship with Harvey mean to you?
Oh, well, it does feel like the end of an era. Harvey, when I first came around the game, Harvey was extremely kind to me, as he was to other people in the press, and, put me on his nightly replay show a lot. and really got to be good friends with him over the years. And he was Harvey to the end. Irascible and skeptical and critical, but more than anything, just loving the game and loving every day being a new set of puzzles and challenges. And if it didn't work out well, turn the page, throw the program. Tomorrow's another day. He had a great attitude towards horse playing and life in general.
That's great stuff. I could not have said it not only couldn't have said it better, couldn't have said it nearly as well. So thank you for that kind remembrance. Let's talk about this pick 6 at Saratoga on Saturday, the last Saturday of the meet. We kick things off. I know you like this because I can remember back in the day when they would bury these, once in a while they'd bury a 2-year-old race in the middle of the pick 6 sequence. And I can recall you and many of the other panelists ire at that. At least we get to kick off the pick 6 this time around with the 2-year-old maiden special weight going 7 furlongs on the Saratoga dirt. From this far out, how are you envisioning getting this thing kicked off? Obviously, having license to change it based on anything you might see in the betting.
Yeah, I mean, the two most important things to me in these kind of races are the tote board and the workout reports. So it's, this isn't the kind of race where I can say in advance, oh, I'm only using the 2, 8, and 10. You have to wait and see. I will say at this point in the meeting, I think people have cracked out their very best 2-year-olds earlier in the meeting because, they're thinking about running them in the hopeful. So, I think that horses with experience have a little bit of an edge in these kind of things. Now, having said that, this is a 7-furlong race, and there are people who wait until the first 7-furlong maiden race of the meeting, to run a horse who they think has distance capabilities. So, we'll see if there are a couple of killer debut horses in here against the ones with experience. I think we've got 4 who have run and 7 first-time starters. Of the 4 who have run, I'm not crazy about a horse who's going to take a fair amount of money, and that's 10 Gauge from Steve Asmussen. I don't think that was a very good race at Monmouth where he ran second in the mud. I have to think that, one of these firsters or another horse who's already run is going to be a little bit stronger. And that horse who's already run is Brigadier General, who ran an excellent debut at Churchill, running second to Gunite, an Asmussen horse who is going to run in the hopeful, from what I understand. And then in his second start, in his first in New York, he got into a huge speed duel after breaking from the inside, and, he was finished by the top of the stretch. But I think with those 2 races under his belt and an outside draw, he's the one I want of the horses who have already run, and we'll wait and see what happens with the firsters.
Yeah, that sounds exactly right. I had Brigadier and General on top as well, just an automatic bet back after dueling with that impressive maiden winner, Stellar Tap. I felt like that race shape was fast pretty much throughout. Horses coming out of that race have done well, and I think he's going to move forward and probably be a handful. Though there are a couple of firsters I thought were at least worth highlighting. Again, not committing to putting them on tickets at this stage, but Misbehaved, I thought, just looking at the work tab, not the Clocker report yet, had a live look into Mischief, needs no introduction. And this has been a productive dam with 3 winners from 4 starters. And then the other one that I think everybody will be talking about, race day, number 8, Galt, definitely has the potential to be overbet based on this pedigree. This is Songbird's little brother. Certainly worth keeping an eye on, and certainly wouldn't be surprised at all to see this one catch money, given the purple bloodlines. That's one where it's a little trickier to evaluate the money. For a horse like Galt, for me, Steve, I need to see seriously strong betting as opposed to just betting because it's Songbird's brother. It's a little bit tricky to read the tea leaves for me on a horse like Galt.
Yeah, I agree, and when Mott firsters are seriously good horses, they take serious money. So you're right. I don't want this horse if he's 7-1 on the board. because again, that will just be kind of, casual touristy, Songbird's little brother. The other firster I'd mention, whose workout line I thought was really interesting, is Classic Causeway from Brian Lynch. You don't see too many 2-year-olds come into a race off 2 6-furlong works and 4 5-furlong works. This horse is going to be fit and ready. How good he is, we don't know, but that's a serious work line to, come into a race with 6 and 113 and 112. They have been waiting to run this horse 7/8.
Let's talk about some stakes racing. We've got the Saranac for these 3-year-olds on the grass going 1 mile and a 1/16, a short field in the spot with 6 turning up. Steve, how are you going to approach it?
To me, this just looked like a flat-out 2-horse race on paper. I will be using only Public Sector, who had a very nice victory at 9-10 in the Hall of Fame, and just flat out is the horse to beat. And to me, the other horse with a great deal of talent is Never Surprised, who's been off since January. But, this horse in his second start won Central Park Stakes over Hard Love, like he might be a seriously good horse. To run figures of 89 and 90 on the grass as a 2-year-old means you're probably a graded stakes horse. I just didn't think the other 4 in this race came close to measuring up to those 2. So I will be confident just using the 1 and the 4 in leg 2.
I agree almost entirely. That's my A line. I did want to conjure, if I can afford it, one kind of backup line with the 5 Founder, just because Founder has closed okay looking at closing sectionals. And if, with Never Surprised seemingly loose, if they're over aggressive on Public Sector, I could see it maybe setting up for a closer. Probably they back it down and turn it into a match race. But I think, I might try to have 5% of my money or less running through Founder in that race. But I'm with you. I'll be pleased if we can get through there with the 1 and the 4. Let's talk about race number 9, 3 and up filly and mare New York bred allowance types going 1 mile and a 1/16 on the turf. My top pick in this spot was going to be number 6, Just Okay Is Not Okay. I feel like the last race can be forgiven. She was rank early, got herself into a bad spot. The run 2 back, I think, is probably good enough to win this, and I think she'll get a better type of trip this time around on or near the lead. In terms of others in the spot, I thought that the 2 Electric Youth held a little bit of appeal. I'm hoping we'll get a little bit longer than the 5-1 of the morning line, but David Aragon is better at that game than I am. But what I like about her is getting back to the best surface, and I felt like the last 2 runs on turf, she made early moves into fast paces, the old classic Andy Beyer trip handicapping angle. And I'm hoping, again, she'll be a decent price. The one who'll probably be favored, number 10, English Breeze, will be more of a defensive use for me. Absolutely fits on figures and form. I'm just worried that the outside draw and the presumptive race shape could mean she ends up wide on both turns. It could maybe be a beaten favorite in this spot, but I'm not going to lose everything if English Breeze were to win. Steve, how do you see this one?
Yeah. I had a higher opinion of English Breeze's chances, I think, than you did. I think if she runs her good race, she kind of has the field at her mercy. I mean, she has 4 races in her brief resume that are better than anything that anyone else in the field has ever run. And she's had a little bit of freshening off a dull effort against a much better field than this. Runaway Rumor and Spongy, either one of them would be virtually 2-5 in this spot. She's got other races against much better horses than these that are good enough. The 10 post is a little bit of a drawback, and the problem with her is that she does sometimes get a little bit rank in her races, and that's what happened last time. But I think if she runs back to her best races, she's absolutely the horse to beat. My second choice in here would be Kara's Dreamer, who I realize is 1 for 14, but has really improved of late. She ran over this course, a race 2 back, against Mike's Girl, where she was just flying at the end and eating up ground. And I think Then in the August 13th race, which is the last time we ran this condition, you had a race with a very slow pace where she did finish well toward the end. And my third kind of A horse is the first horse you mentioned. Just Okay Is Not Okay. If you draw a line through her last race, which I think you can do because, as you said, she was ranked, the race 2 back is very good. And she has ceiling to her, which a lot of these others don't. I mean, I don't expect a horse like Kara's Dreamer, to improve 5 points off what she's been doing. I mean, she's had 14 chances, whereas Just Okay Is Not Okay is only making her 5th career start. And if you throw out her debut and then her troubled race last time, she still has plenty of room to improve. So if I can get through the race with 1-6-10, I will. But this is a race where you wouldn't mind having some kind of C-level backups as well.
Yeah. I totally take that point about Just Okay Is Not Okay, comparatively unexposed, and perhaps I am underrating English Breeze a little. I'll take a little bit more of a look at maybe pressing up a bit, but it's an interesting affair, a tricky little race in terms of the pick 6. Is this one where you could see, I mean, like how, when you talk about that going to that C level, how many could you see yourself covering in a race like this?
Oh, I could see myself sort of going, like 3 A's and 3 C's. I mean, I think there are some hopeless horses in here that you don't have to waste your, time and money on. I mean, I don't think this is a good race to push the all button because, you have horses who have been racing at the maiden 40 level and, just graduated from there. And I don't expect those horses to run particularly well against the veteran, special weight and A1X kind of horses. So I'm not using 7 backups as well as my 3 mains. But I could see, making one ticket where I veer off here and use, say, 3 backups as well as my 3 mains.
Let's talk about race number 10. We've got 3 and up allowance types going 6.5 on the dirt. Steve, what will your approach be here?
Well, this race you could only see at Saratoga. I mean, an A other than allowance race where you have 6 horses who have run a figure of 90 or better. I mean, there's not another race meeting in the world where you'd have that could be a stakes race.
Yep.
This is just a super, super tough race. I don't think there are any surprising big long shots in here, but I do think there are 5 or 6 horses who absolutely can win the race. Price-wise, maybe the one who interests me the most is the one Tuggle, who has been on the verge of being a seriously good horse. And he came off a 14-month layoff last time and couldn't have run much better for a horse coming off a layoff like that. With routine improvement, I expect him to run a figure in the mid-90s. And, of the 5 kind of obvious fast horses in the race, he's the one who I think might have the most price value. But, you have to use a horse like Ducale, who I don't quite buy the 97 figure that he supposedly ran last time because I don't think the runner-up is all that good, and the runner-up in that race came back to run very poorly. So, I'm not convinced that he's a future Grade 1 horse, but you certainly have to use him a little bit defensively. You've got Baby Yoda, who ran a huge figure, winning last time, but it was against much weaker horses than these. I mean, it was a starter allowance race. If I had to put one horse on top in this race, it would be Crowded Trade for Chad Brown. You look at this horse's 5-race career, and I think he still has a lot of ceiling. This is a horse who in his 2nd career start ran 2nd beaten a nose in the Gotham with a figure of 95. And, they got ambitious with him after that, understandably, and he hasn't run back to that 95 figure yet. But, I mean, he ran in the Wood Memorial, he ran in the Preakness, and last time he came off a layoff and ran against Jackie's Warrior in the Slop in the Amsterdam. This is some serious class relief. I mean, this might be the strongest one other than allowance race we'll see all year, but he is dropping in class.
It's a very, very interesting race. Now, I did end up with Ducale on first. Tell me what you think of this logic that I used to take this figure more literally than you are. Yes, Asking for a Baskin came back and did not run well. The three others who've come back and run, now granted, they were at the bottom of the table there, but they all basically ran their same figure in their next out, Aubin, Cool Quest, and Crump. And so I was okay with saying that number for Ducale is real. And if that number is real, and this is a runner just in the third career start, and he's got that wonderful sort of push button type speed, I was okay, certainly not singling, but I was okay putting on top of the ticket. Do you look at the figures they run next time out to try to evaluate the figure in the last race for a runner like Ducale, or am I getting myself into a trap here?
No, not at all. I look at that a great deal, and we both use Formulator, which just gives you a wonderful view of how figures have held up, and if whether they do or they don't, it's very much worth looking at how horses came out of the race, and how good the field was. It's much easier to run a big figure against a mediocre field than it is against a very, very tough field. I have nothing against Ducale. I wouldn't go singling him because
No,
I do think, yes, he has the top fig by a slightly comfortable margin, but there's so much talent in this race, and we're not 100% sure that 97 is as good as it looked. So, he's certainly an A with me. I'm not leaving him off any tickets, but I think the race is a little deeper than some people might think.
Yeah, Crowded Trade is nearly a co-top pick for me. That was a serious race last time. It didn't break, worked forwardly since. A horse that I thought for a minute might be better in sprints. And I was going to use Baby Yoda for a penny, just on the idea that he might be able to shake loose. So we're very, very similar in race 10, but definitely probably the most exciting allowance race I've seen in a minute around here.
There's just so much talent, and don't go to sleep on Chad's other horse. There's nothing wrong with Hometown, and the fact that he's running him here, even with Crowded Trade in the field, they like him too, and he's got some talent.
All right, we'll have some 10s in the mix as well. Shall we go on to our Breeders' Cup Win and You're In action, starting with the Grade 1 Flower Bowl, 1 3/8 on the inner turf this time around. I was going to take a shot with number 1, La Signore, thinking that she can hopefully see out this trip. I suppose that's the big question, but I was just thinking she had a pace advantage, and Warlike Goddess, I'm going to use, but she is going to be a very short price for a runner who might still have plenty of work left to do at the pace call. And then the big question mark, the 2 American Bridge, the turf angle we talk about all the time on these shows is turf form shipping west. If she would really be 12-1 as well, I think I would probably include as some kind of a backup based on, who's ever buying and bringing these horses over for Peter Brand over the years does a pretty good job. She doesn't seem like she should class up based on the Italian form necessarily, but I want her somewhere. But I like it basically 1-3 with maybe a little bit the 2. How do you see it?
I like the same 3 horses in a different order. I think it's going to be very tough to beat Warlike Goddess. One thing to very much keep in mind, the Flower Bowl, it's, for decades been a 1.25 mile race at Belmont. It's now a 1 3/8 race at Saratoga. And I think that the 1 3/8 distance is perfect for Warlike Goddess. She has just blossomed going 11 furlongs and longer. She couldn't have won the Glens Falls, more easily off a 4-month layoff. I think she may be the best long distance turf filly in America. And while she is going to be a little bit of an underlay, I think there's pretty good reason for that. La Signore, I looked at for a long time because she ran very well in the Diana behind the 2 Godolphin horses. She was really the only horses who was keeping pace with them at the end of the race. But, to me, the problem is the distance. Other than the Belmont Oaks 3 years ago, this filly hasn't been more than 1 1/8 miles, and difference between 9 and 11 furlongs is just giant. So while she may well be the second best horse in the race, it's pretty risky to try to get them to stretch to 11 for the first time against as good a horse as Warlike Goddess. And American Bridge, these Europeans, the fact that she won a Group 3 in Europe, that's like winning a Group 1 in America. Their horses are just so much better going long on the turf than ours are, that she's my kind of number 2 horse behind, I think, a very good deserving favorite.
Sounds like you're happy to press up Warlike Goddess pretty well in this spot, kind of as a lone A type. Is that how you were thinking of maybe approaching it?
Yeah, it's really kind of an A, a B, and a C, with Warlike Goddess, American Bridge, and La Signori in that order.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I like Brendan Walsh. I trust him implicitly. It is a lot to ask, though, as you point out. We'll see what's going to happen, and hopefully, I'm going to get rewarded with the price. If La Signori ends up being 5-2 in my within race play, I'll be looking another direction. But in terms of the pick 6, I'll definitely have plenty of ones in there. We close things out with this newly scheduled Jockey Club Gold Cup, no longer at Belmont as it was for so many years. Personally, Steve, I have to say I'm in favor of this experiment just because even though recent Jockey Club Gold Cups have produced some pretty darn good form in terms of what horses went on to do after, it does seem like it's lost some of the luster in the old spot. I'm in favor of this experiment. I'm curious if you'll agree with me on that, though. I know you can be a little traditional sometimes with this stuff.
Oh, I can be very traditional with this kind of stuff. And, I feel a little pang about the Jockey Club Gold Cup not being at Belmont in October, as it's been since I was, knee-high to a pup. But, it was worth trying to do something. I know this was an idea that Mike Watchmaker was pushing for a number of years because the Jockey Club Gold Cup is sort of the race that's been most adversely affected by the dawn of the Breeders' Cup, over the last nearly 40 years. And rather than being, it used to be the Breeders' Cup Classic. Right. And once we had a Breeders' Cup, it wasn't. And a lot of people with modern training philosophy don't want to run 1.25 miles, 3, 4, 5 weeks before the 1.25 mile Breeders' Cup Classic. So, it was fading, and I think, they had to do something. They had to try something, and we'll see if this works. You've basically kind of flipped the Woodward and Jockey Club Gold Cup. The Woodward at Belmont now, again, as it used to be before they moved to Saratoga, it's the October race for these older horses, but at 1.8 miles, I think it's probably a better prep for the Classic than 1.25 miles Jockey Club Gold Cup was. It's kind of interesting, these 2 Grade 1 races, the Flower Bowl and the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Of the 13 horses, only one of them has ever won a Grade 1 race. So, we're not getting super accomplished fields, but I think this Gold Cup has 2 or 3 very nice horses in it who may have an impact on the big races this fall.
Well, let's ask the key question then when it comes to this 12th race on Saturday, the Jockey Club Gold Cup. We've been talking about this pick 6 and giving some thoughts on strategy. How are we going to get paid?
I do not think you're going to get a big upset in this race. To me, there are 3 horses who can win the race, a 4th who, if you squint, you could make a case for us, and 2 who have absolutely no chance. So, I think that this sequence is going to end with either Forza d'Oro or Happy Saver winning the race. My 3rd choice is Max Player. I'd love to be alive to him as well. But to me, the race is about Forza d'Oro and Happy Saver. The others, I just don't think quite class up with these.
I think it's that's the right assessment. It feels like Forza d'Oro might be ready for his close-up, given the hands he's in, the potential pace advantage he has. I put him on top, but I won't be upside down or underwater at all if we see Happy Saver get the job done, just based on his body of work. And I feel like he's had enough tricky circumstances. If for some reason Forza d'Oro is not up to the class test, just looks like the logical one. And yeah, I might run a number through the 2 max player, but nothing crazy as far as that goes. Yeah, lots of.
I mean, the other 3, I just can't see. I mean, Night Ops hasn't won a race in a long time. He's been running second and third to horses who, would not be favored in this spot, and he'd have to make another big jump up to be competitive. My only hesitation about Forza d'Oro is the distance of this race, 1.25 miles. Not that he hasn't finished well in all his races, but he's still a Speightstown trying to get 1.25 miles. I'm not going to be shocked if he comes up a little bit wanting in the stretch, and here comes the cavalry. But I have absolutely nothing negative to say about Happy Saver. I think he still has upside and ceiling. I don't hold the Suburban in the slop against him. And his Jockey Club Gold Cup last year in his 4th career start, where he beat Mystic Guide, who went on to obviously have a huge winner overseas. Happy Saver's a pretty good horse.
If I forced you to rank them, would you put Happy Saver as like your top pick? Do you figure to run more money through him, or is it really going to be pretty even, Steven, for you?
No, it's really like 40% him and 40% Forza d'Oro and 20% Max Player.
Good stuff. Steve, thank you so much for taking time out and joining on the show today. No good deed goes unpunished around here. If you're willing, we'd love to have you back on soon. That was informative and entertaining as ever.
Great. No, enjoyed doing these things with you, and give me a ring anytime.
Cheers, my friend.
All right. Take care, Pete.
Multi-tabling. It's not just for poker anymore. People play in more than one contest at once, and they do so frequently, whether it's online or on site, or two on site. Not that you can be in 2 places at once, but you know what I mean. On Saturday, this is an opportunity to multi-table. We talked about some of the other stuff going on, but we really want you to get involved in the LRF Cares Charity Challenge. And I know for a fact this one's just about sold out. You snooze, you lose. They are going to be open to buying tickets until the early hours of Saturday morning, but I wouldn't mess around. You can play online. You can play at Del Mar. It only costs $500, and it benefits charity, Thoroughbred Aftercare, that LRF Cares, Little Red Feather Cares, supports. For more information, go to inthemoneypodcast.com/LRF. That's inthemoneypodcast.com/LRF. This summer, I've become a huge believer in Equinedge. They started out as a client. We always dive in and make sure, we're down with what our clients' products are. And that was, always the case with Equinedge. But now I'm at a point where I really don't want to be looking at a whole lot of different types of races without Equinedge and the AI-fueled tools that they bring to the party, especially the strength of race and the genetic strength rating. But there's a whole lot of other great stuff in there as well. Their morning line tool, their projected win percentages, the Scotty algorithm, the Scotty long shot algorithm. So much here to unpack, and you can do it for a month for free using our promo code FREEMONEY if you go to equinedge.com, or you can go directly to equinedge.com/freemoney and get it that way. The only little trick is it's Equinedge. There's only one E in the middle. There's no double E. So equinedge.com/freemoney to learn more. Next up on the show, very happy to be joined by a familiar guest and a new guest. Let's start with the new guest, who you may have seen, especially if you're on the already indoctrinated into the Equinedge way of thinking, because he's seen there on the Action Hour, and somebody who I've heard nothing but good things about his ability to use the tool and talk through these races. Brady Klotz, how are things?
Hey, Peter. Doing great. Yes. Been working with Scotty on Equinedge since February of this year after we met at the Pegasus World Cup Betting Challenge. And there we hit the Equinedge Exacta. Scottish finished first. I finished second. And so, yes, we do a show every Thursday night, Action Hour. And it's been great helping users figure out how to use our tools to better their handicapping. That's
great. We'll definitely send that around on social too to people. We talk about it obviously in this segment every week, but there's people looking for more content. And that's one great thing about the Equinedge family is that there's a lot of resources and ways to understand this tool because, it's one of those things. It's simple to use, but the more you get familiar with the different algorithms, there's also a complexity to it as you go through the levels. And it's great to have the likes of you and Scotty being able to guide people through. I assume that's one of your goals with Action Hour.
Yes, it is. And essentially what we use the tool as is exactly what it stated, is a tool to better someone's handicapping. And so, we all come into the game as either beginners, intermediate, or advanced handicappers, and we can find a way to help everybody at every single level. And so, it's just, I watch replays and I use the tool. And so, there's the eye test and then the science to back it up.
That's great stuff. And then, of course, our other guest, we've talked about him already. He's up there in the corner if you're watching on YouTube. He's back from Vegas out in Del Mar. Got to wait for that gloom to burn off, and I'm sure it'll be another perfect day. He's Scotty McKeever. How are things?
Good, Peter. Good. Good to be back from the NHC. But we had a good time there. Brady and I were there, and we were just having a good time. I'll tell you, great experience as well. I think it's important. It was my second time at the NHC, but it's really important to get an experience there because things move so fast. I think Brady would agree with that. They move very fast, so you have to be somewhat prepared. But man, I'll tell you what, the experience was so great that I'm online. I'm playing in horseplayers.com today. I'm playing in an NHC qualifier today. I'm playing in one on Monday. They've got one. So I hope to get there, but I hope to have 2 entries.
That's great. And I love that. I mean, I always call it the coolest horse player party of the year, the ability to meet so many like-minded individuals. Were you all business working on the tournament, or did you have a chance to meet some players and demo the Equinedge product a little bit?
Normally I'm kind of to myself and I do my thing, but no, it was such a great opportunity to meet a lot of people, and people were coming up to me, and it was such a great time. We met hundreds of people, and I was blown away by all the people that were using the Equinedge tool. You'd be walking by and you're seeing it up there on their computer, and it was a great feeling, and we've come a long way. And the fact that a lot of these tournament players are seeing what we're doing and finding it valuable was pretty cool.
Brady, was this your first time at the NHC?
It was my first NHC, and I never want to miss another one again. That's,
I mean, that says it all, right?
It's everything from handicapping to the wee hours in the morning to having drinks with everybody in the industry that you kind of get to know vicariously through Twitter. But then, to have kind of a meeting ground, the NHC, where, all the best horse players in the country can all get together for one crazy weekend in Vegas and see who gets lucky. I'm going to try to qualify on horse tourneys and every other qualifier that I can get, because I do not want to miss another one.
We've talked about it elsewhere in the show, but we've got all these live bank opportunities coming up. The LRF Cares at Del Mar on Saturday. I would hope you guys are going to be signed up for that one. These Kentucky Downs contests awarding BC, and NHC seats. Canterbury in the fall. There's so many good opportunities live, and if you can't make the live tournaments, online is the other option for you. But I mean, that says it all. You've never been before, and you don't want to go back and wait till you get a proper one. In January with another couple of hundred people in the mix, and not at such a chaotic time. And I think you're even going to like it better. So I applaud all those sentiments and look forward to getting to hang out with you there. It was terrible FOMO for me. Some of the worst FOMO I've ever felt. Honestly, if I had it do over again, I think I might have gone, actually. Just all things considered, as hard as it is to miss a Travers Day. But anyway, enough about that. We're here to talk about Del Mar and this pick 5 on Saturday. That's going to, as we get down to the business end of this meet, it starts off in race number 7, if my calculations are correct. That's 7:30 Eastern for this 8 furlong maiden special weight filly and mare test on the turf. Brady, you're the new guy. Let's start with you. Who do you like in here?
Yeah, my top pick here is the 8 Summer Daisy. This was the USA newcomer over from France last time out. I was actually at Del Mar for this race in the $70,000 maiden special weight. This horse broke a little bit slow and tardy at the start, went out wide, had to take a wide trip, which we know at Del Mar has not been favorable this meet, and then, was very respectable, finishing 3rd in a loss. And so at a 6-1 morning line price, you get Rispoli up, and I really like the 8 Summer Daisy to the outside. The other horse that I was looking at in this race was also Floral Essence, that came out of that August 7th race as well. This horse was able to beat Summer Daisy. You get Abel Cedillo up. It is an outside post, but I do like the class of horses that these two have faced compared to the rest. Sometimes I will like taking 2 horses that lost out of a race previous and compare them up against to the other horses in the field and see who have they faced. And I used the SOR tool for that, and both of these horses scored a 60 on the SOR tool. And so those are my 2 top choices in this race, using a little bit of Buzz in New York as a backup just to try to not get beat by Flavien Prat on the turf.
Well, that also makes sense. Recap those numbers for me, my friend.
That was 4, 8, 9.
4, 8, 9, with the 8 being the top pick.
With the 8 being on the top.
Excellent. I'm going to call it 8, 9. You said the 4 was more of a backup, so I'll play it that way. And Scotty, let's bring you in. Do you see it the same way, or can we have some disagreement to kick off this pick 5?
Well, we had the same tool, I tell you what, Summer Daisy and Floral Essence, the 8 and 9, come out of the same race, and that was a really good race. As a matter of fact, the horse that won was called Queen Goddess, was 46% to win that day, and even money on the Equinedge morning line. So both of them come out of a true race. And also, I don't know that I've ever seen an SOR in a maiden race a 66. I've seen some grade 3 races that weren't 66s. So that was a very strong maiden race. I like those two horses. You got Flavian Pratt on Buzz of New York, the 4 horse, who doesn't come out of as strong of a race, a 52 SOR, but it's the second off of a layoff, second here in the country. So, and by the way, same with Summer Daisy. Summer Daisy, second time in the country, and that was off of a 9-month layoff. So I think Summer Daisy can improve off of that last effort. And then, of course, the top GSR is Focaccia, the 6 horse for Mike McCarthy. This one's been off a layoff since February. That was a pretty strong race that she comes out of. So, believe me, I want to single the 8 horse Summer Daisy. I agree with you, Brady, but I think I'm going to fear a little bit here, and I'm going to cover 4, 6, 7, 8, 9.
The 8 as the top pick. And just for those who are uninitiated, because we've been talking about Equinedge enough, but there's new people joining the shows all the time. That SOR, that's the strength of race rating, and it's a powerful tool. It's looking from a class angle, and then that GSR, genetic strength rating, that's really looking at the bloodlines and a mathematical assessment of the horse's ability to do what it's doing today. And I really love that when you're looking at cutbacks and stretch outs and horses, anytime they're doing something for the first time. I found that for me, for my handicapping, to be the single most powerful algorithm in the mix. There's a ton of good stuff, but that GSR in particular, I find myself coming back to again and again and looking at when it comes to my own handicapping and writing and analysis that I'm doing. Let's talk about race number 8. We've got 3-year-old $20,000 claimers going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Scotty, we're going to keep it with you.
Well, you got to throw out the last race for Ascot Storm, the 1 horse, second time off a layoff, had trouble, stumbled, and then now comes back and goes from a 54 GSR to a 68 GSR. So clearly the horse is going to be better on dirt. And I think they just gave the horse the race personally. And I'm expecting a big effort from this horse, by the way, too. If you throw out the last, second off a layoff, Equinedge morning line on this horse is 12-1 on the morning line, 5-2 on the Equinedge morning line, gets the bug, 14-point increase in GSR from last race to this race. Scotty Longshot, big GSR as well. Equinedge morning line, 5-2 from a 12-1 morning line from John White. So I think Ascot Storm could be tough. I like the 4 horse big drop. I'm just not sure about dirt for Gator Shining, but I think this horse, has the class for sure for Richard Baltus. And then the 7 horse has the top GSR, Divas Finale, who's going to be your favorite most likely, and top win percentage of 30%. Very tactical, gets a good post, looking to win back-to-back races. But I'm going to go 1-4-7.
I like it, and I did notice that Ascot Storm gets tabbed by the Scotty Longshot algorithm as the top pick as well. That's another thing I found very useful in the software is, I'll do my handicapping of the race, and then I'll come and I'll look at Equinedge and see, okay, let me look at the different algorithms and see who's coming out strong, and then I'll go back and re-handicap that, and then sometimes it can unlock my entire opinion of the race. And a runner like Ascot Storm definitely is going to be on my radar as well. Brady,
Peter, real quickly, Peter,
yeah,
just not to cut you off, but real quickly, I think it's important to note as well, too, when you see a horse like Ascot Storm, the 1 horse, you had different algorithms here. So you have the Scotty Longshot algorithm, who's choosing this horse. The Equinedge morning line from 12-1, the odds maker, to ours at 5-2. That's another one that's catching it. And then you have the GSR, which is the second top by 1 point. I mean, these are 3 separate algorithms that are saying this horse is a horse you have to look at. So I don't love the rail, but I have a feeling this horse can come out of the gate fast and is going to be very tough here.
1-4-7. I wrote it down for Scotty. Brady, are we in agreement?
We're using the same tools, and we are in agreement on a couple of things here. I wanted to point out my top pick, which is the 7 Divas Finale. And like Scotty said, when you're using the tool, you have to look for different algorithms all lining up at once. And if you can get 2 or 3 of them together, that's a strong opinion you should definitely take a look at. And with Divas Finale, it's our top win percentage at 30%. It's our EE morning line favorite. It's our top GSR horse, and it's the top Scotty pick. So I have 4 algorithms pointing to the 7 horse that we believe is probably going to be 2-1. Now this race, it's a lot of cheap horses in here, so really anything can happen. And I do agree with Scotty on the EE morning line on the 1 being from a 12-1 morning line down to a 5-2. What concerns me is that the jockey has not had very much success at Del Mar this meet. Emily is winning a lot of races at Santa Anita. Since we've gotten down to Del Mar, I think we've seen some struggles. And breaking from the rail were my 2 concerns there. Outside of the favorite and the Scotty Longshot Ascot Storm, I did take a look at the 5. This is Charge Cash and Tiago Pereira. If he runs his race from 2 back, I do think that form would be good enough to best this field on his best day. So, in a cheap race, we're going to try to rely on a horse to run his best race on, Saturday. I think is worth looking at like a B horse there, but my A will be the 7. And then Scotty did also voice the concerns about the 4, maybe not liking the dirt. I believe this is first time dirt for the 4, and we had a very low GSR number. And so, sometimes horses just have low GSR numbers in general, though, as well, if they're not royally bred. And so, you could.
And Brady, on that note, too, with Gator Shining, the 4 horse, who I might not use. I might just use the 1 at 7. First of all, they're throwing the horse on dirt, which we don't know. They're adding blinkers, right? So to me, it doesn't look like Baltus is really sure about this horse. So a lot of times it's not good to play a horse like this. I threw this horse in because I just didn't know, because it's a big drop, but you just never know. And on the note on your 5 horse Charge Cash, I just want to make a note. The reason I didn't use it, because I liked it as well, was the Equinedge morning line on this horse is 8-1, and John White's morning line is 5-2 on this horse. And I've just seen when you can utilize the Equinedge morning line that way as well. And when I've seen that, these horses don't usually run very good.
It's interesting using it as a de facto value line. And that's a great point, too. I mean, the tool is not meant to be some sort of black box where everybody who looks gets the same answers. There's plenty of interpretation. Obviously, as closely as you guys work together, you're going to come up with a lot of the same horses using the tool. But you could give this to 2 players and they could come up with two different things, even though it's all rooted in the same tech. For me, that's a feature of Equinedge, not a bug. And as I say, that will move on to race number 9, where we've got graded stakes action in the grade 2. John C. Maybe Stakes going 1 1/8 on the turf for these 3-year-old and up fillies and mares. And Brady, it's your turn. Who's going to win?
This is a great betting race. When you have a morning line favorite in dog tag at 3-1 in a grade 2 going 9 furlongs on the Del Mar turf, and I'm not using Rispoli or Pratt, it's going to be a great betting race. And I know that's going off the deep end maybe, but that's what I'm going to do with this ticket here. My top pick was the 1 Maxim Rate. I just think from a class perspective, this horse has won a grade 1 in the Gamely at 9 furlongs, which is very important for me to be proven in graded stakes at the distance that you're going to be going on Saturday. Is for Simon Callahan, you get Juan Hernandez, who's been having a nice meet at Del Mar. And I really didn't like the other 2 horses that I thought were going to vie for favoritism. Dog Tag was an old Chad Brown runner that just seems to have that second-itis bug right now. And so, the horse runs his race every single time, but just can't quite get there. And I've been backing him the last 3 times. So now I think I'm in divorce mode with Dog Tag. The other horse that I looked at here was Going to Vegas and Flavian Pratt. And I'm trying not to just make a point to bet Flavian Pratt just because it's Del Mar and just because it's on the turf. I thought this would maybe get overplayed and I could find some value elsewhere. So where did I go? I went to the 6 and the 7. I'm trying to pronounce the 6. Bodachia? Is that how you pronounce that for Richard Baltus?
Bodachita, I would have said, but close enough. Close enough.
Bodachita.
Maybe Bodacita, but one of those.
Yeah. What I like about this horse, you get Kent DeSormo here, who is an aggressive rider when he wants to be, and he's coming out of some very good races. We're coming out of the Matriarch, the Gamely twice, a bunch of grade 2 and grade 1 races, and I felt like you're going to get a nice price on him as well. The other horse that I was looking at here would have been the 7. This is Tapwater, and Jersey Joe Bravo riding for Richard Mandela. They've tried this horse at a bunch of different distances, and they've tried him 1.5 miles. They've tried him going 1 mile, and I think that this 9 furlongs is actually going to hit him right between the eyes. And Jersey Joe's having a fantastic meet, especially on the turf, and I heard he's there to stay.
It makes sense. He's had plenty of success out there, and I think his style suits the way they run their turf races out there. Did you want to leave the 1 in the mix for a penny? Were you looking at it as sort of a 6-7 with the 1 as a backup kind of deal? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. So what we're going to be trying to do is I'm going to be using the 1, 6, and 7 in multi-race wagers, but I'm going to try to place the 1 in second and third when I'm playing my trifectas with the 6 and the 7 on top, trying to catch a price on there as a backup ticket.
Okay, that makes absolute sense, and that's the way we'll record it for our notes for the In the Money Plus people tuning in. Scotty, who is going to win the John Mabey this year?
You see, you can look at the same tools and still come up with different answers. I absolutely love Dog Tag and Maxim Rate in this race. This is a 2-horse race. In the yellow ribbon last time out, they both got second and third respectively. Dog Tag beat Maxim Rate, kind of got the run on Maxim Rate, who was behind horses in the yellow ribbon. But the horse that won the race is Princess Grace, who's a half a length away from being 5 for 5 lifetime for Michael Stidham. I mean, that's a very, very nice filly. Dog Tag looks to be, with the trip, I think Dog Tag wins, but Maxim Rate's just as good. To me, hands down, this is a 2-horse race. Dog Tag and Maxim Rate. That's it.
3-1 for Scotty, keeping it simple there with our stakes action at Del Mar. And that'll bring us to 2-year-old action. We've got Klotz going 5.5 in this maiden special weight affair. We've got what looks to be a likely favorite on the outside in Corniche. Scotty, are you with or against?
That's a tough one for me. I'm having a rough time with it. I'm going to go with the top GSR Breakfast Ride. I think this one is very well bred. Distorted humor, 2-year-old colt. Very well bred. Jockey trainer combination, by the way, is 42% with Joe Bravo and John Sadler. So John Sadler is going to put Joe Bravo on every single time when he's got a first-time starter like this, and they're deadly. So I think the 4 Breakfast Ride's the real deal. I really like the pattern of works. The last couple of works, 4 of 88 going 5 furlongs, and then 4 of 63. I just think this horse is the real deal. So I'm going to go with the 4, but I kind of like the 11 horse Elevado for Mike Pipey and Juan Hernandez. So I'm going to go with top jockeys in here, but I am going to go 4, 10, 11, but the 4 horse is the one I like the best.
All right, 4, 10, 11. Brady, how about for you in this baby race?
I would agree. I think the 10's definitely going to be your favorite, if not odds on. You've got a quality road colt with, I believe Mike Smith is going to be aboard as well. And so this is the horse that's going to take all the money. I would like to try to take a shot against. I mean, we've seen this whole entire meet. Bob has had, sometimes 2 and 3 horses in a maiden special weight and still hasn't been able to connect. And so I'm finding a lot of success in trying to, use his horses defensively. And if they beat me, I'm not going to let my ticket go away. So I am going to definitely use the 10 on the ticket, but I did sort by GSRs, and our top 3 GSRs were the 4, 6, and 9. Breakfast Ride, Conch Dandy, and Dancing Ricana. I'm going to go with the 9, Dancing Rica, the Peter Urton horse out of Practical Joke that Rispoli is going to be riding. This is a little bit of a shot in the dark here. I will be spreading majorly in this race, but if you have to choose one top pick, it's going to be the 9 for me.
All right, let's move on to the other graded stake on the day, and it's actually our nightcap as well. We've got these 3-year-olds in the Del Mar Derby, concluding the series of turf races for 3-year-olds that they run at Del Mar. 1 1/8 on the turf this time around. Brady, how are we going to get paid?
I love these turf races ending a pick 5 sequence, and we have a Bob Baffert horse on the turf out of American Pharoah. And, Bob Baffert, he's always kind of gotten some flack for not being very good on the turf until Jujor came along earlier this year. And me and Scotty were at the Monarch Del Mar hosting our Derby event, and this was Scotty's top pick on the show that we did the night before was a Baffert horse on the turf. And I were like, you're crazy, right? No, he won for fun. And
crazy
so
like a fox.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think you got to take this horse seriously. So I definitely had the 1 Hudson Ridge here. I think the 10 is going to be on the lead, and this was the top pick in our system off of a 12-1 morning line. And so you get Kyle Frey, and our EE morning line is only 6-1. So that's a big teller for me is when our morning line is half of what the odds maker morning line is, and this is our top GSR horse. Kyle Frey has been taking some horses to the front end. What I hope he does here is slows the pace down a little bit with the 10, because I think we've gotten a little out in front of us a couple of times and have gone too fast, and then pretty much just gave a free win to the closers. But I am interested in the 10. I'm also interested in this 9. I've been reading a lot about this 9 for Jeff Mullins, Zoffarelli, and Drayden Van Dyke's aboard. You had his first start at Del Mar in the La Hala and was kind of pinballed late in the notes. And so I'm going to give a trip exception note to the 9 here as my top pick.
All right, there we go. We've got 1, 10, and 9 for Brady to close it out. Scotty, who will it be for you?
Well, I agree. By the way, the one horse for Bob Baffert, Hudson Ridge. I mean, first of all, this horse is 2 for 2 at the surface and distance. I had a rough trip last time out. I'm going to probably make this my top pick, but I agree too. Brady is talking about this Zoffarelli, this Irish spread here for Jeff Mullins. I mean, this horse can run for sure. And this second off a layoff, second here in the country, you're going to see this horse. A lot of times these horses are here at Del Mar, whether it's the weather or the climate, whatever it is, they do better second time here at Del Mar. So I think the 9's a player. The 10 is our top Scotty pick, Jimmy Blue Jeans, who could have the lead, has won 3 straight races. These are a little bit tougher than what he's faced, but he's a player. I'm going to give you none above the law too, as well, for Peter Miller and Joe Bravo. This one faced a tough group last time, arguably better. Now it was 7 furlongs on the dirt. Not going to get a lot of credit, but if you throw out, and this one's lightly raced, been in the money in 8 of 13 tries. But if you throw out the Oceanside 2 back, I don't know what happened, didn't break very good. Then look at the horse's form. This one is a player in here, and you're getting 12 to 1 on the morning line, 10 to 1 on the Equinedge morning line, has a really good GSR, the 4 horse. So I'm thinking 1, 4, 9, 10.
1, 4, 9, 10 to close things out for Scotty. Some very good ideas in this pick 5, and this is a grouping we'll have to get together again, yapping about these things. I love hearing your perspective, and then the extra trip work that you guys are bringing to the table as well. Really, really enjoyable to chat with you and learn a little bit more myself about the Equinedge tool. Gentlemen, Godspeed out there this weekend, and we'll be talking soon.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
There's just a few weeks left on the Horse Player Happy Hour Tour, but that doesn't mean you can't still get a piece of these 2 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seats that are added to the prize pool at no cost to players, and it only costs $20 to play. The money goes to Thoroughbred Aftercare. We have a lot of fun. We do a live stream. Usually it's Matt Bernier and myself with an array of fabulous guests. We may even get that man you see on your screen there, Jonathan Kinchin, involved before it's all said and done. These playoffs are going to be so much fun. Limited to 80 people. If you finish in the top 2 any week, you're automatically in the end. And then the top tour finishers who didn't finish in the top 2 any week are going to get in. It's going to end up with 80 people playing for a $10,000 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat. And we're going to use that final table format we debuted at the World Horse Player Tour. It's going to be so much fun. We want you to watch. We want you to play. We want you to watch and interact with us during the broadcast. This is your chance to be part of the In the Money Media family. Give us some picks. Give us a hard time. Ask us a question. Whatever you want to do to play in the game, you simply go to horseplayers.com. Games typically go live on a Tuesday. Horseplayers.com. It's going to be next Thursday. Races TBD without New York running. We'll have to figure out how that goes, but I'm sure it's going to be good. So anyway, join us over at horseplayers.com, and then we're part of the Breeders' Cup social media. So you can watch the live stream. You can follow through my Twitter, or you go to the Breeders' Cup Twitter or the Breeders' Cup Facebook page. We want you to join us for this very horse player friendly experience, Horse Players Happy Hour Tour. Sign up today. Well, you can't. I say that, but you can't really sign up till Tuesday. So we'll say it this way. Sign up Tuesday at horseplayers.com. Next up on the show, we bring you word from our friends up at Woodbine. What a great meet they've been having. It's been fantastic to have them back. Going to have a lot more Woodbine coverage come this September with the Woodbine Mile Day rapidly approaching. Probably not going to get to be there in person this year, unfortunately, but we'll be following with great interest and covering thoroughly. And speaking of covering thoroughly, our man who writes about Woodbine every weekend over at InTheMoneyPodcast.com is also our business manager here at In the Money Media. He's Drew Coatney. Drew, how are things?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to a nice long weekend here to look at racing and sink our teeth into some good Woodbine action. I think we have some good backs even today, which is we're recording on the morning of Friday. So hopefully we can catch some winners.
That's the plan anyway. That reminds me, we've sort of dropped the ball on doing our horses to watch the last couple of weeks, haven't we? We've got to get back to that.
Yeah. It may have something to do with my 9-month-old being sick all week. And
oh, no! Everything okay?
just colds and sniffles. That's all. So we'll be good. We'll be
No,
good.
it's not just you. I mean, it's me. It's everybody. I didn't mean to point. I wasn't looking to finger point there. But let's bring on our next guest. He did a fantastic job earlier this week. Did a fantastic job all meet at Colonial Downs covering that action for us. I'm trying to twist his arm, maybe go the full arm bar to get him to do some coverage of Kentucky Downs as well over on the blog, because it feels like a lot of horse players can't get enough of Kentucky Downs, especially with this exciting turf handicapping championship happening out there during the meet. But we bring in from InTheMoneyPodcast.com, Michael Domabyl. And I should also say from Horse Player Happy Hour, Michael Domabyl, been ripping it up over there as well. How are things, my friend?
Doing well, Pete. We're in the Outer Banks today. Right after this show, actually, I'm going to go on one of those wild horse sightseeing tours. So maybe I can see if I can tame one of them and see if they take to the Tapete up at Woodbine.
We could maybe make a children's book about that. What do you think?
That would be great.
I know a good editor. I'll see what she's doing later. I'll picture the story. All right, let's talk Woodbine, gentlemen. We're going to look at this late pick 4 on the Saturday card. It kicks off in race number 7 at 4:13 Eastern. 3-and-up filly and mare allowance types going 6.5 on the synthetic. Michael, you're the new guest. Let's start with you.
Yeah, I think this pick 4 sequence is pretty competitive. I think there's, big fields. I don't think there's any favorites in the sequence that are going to be overwhelming. I think it could end up being pretty logical, though. And kicking it off in this first race, the story I see here is you've got your 3-year-old fillies facing their older counterparts, and I think the young fillies might hold the upper hand here. The filly to the outside, Hazelbrook, looks pretty tough for me, especially if she gets back to that maiden breaking score. Looked really, really solid, dominating that field, which I thought was pretty strong for the level. But the question really is why has she been off for 2 months since? So that's kind of why I think you've got to back up with Imagery, the 8 horse here for Trombetta. Got that recency edge, has faced winners before. And, if she runs that last race back and the 10 horse Hazelbrook doesn't return to that same form, doesn't retain what she had prior to the layoff, I think Imagery will take down the field. So using those two primarily, probably an equal weight as A's to kick off the pick 4. And then the one backup I would throw in would be PK, the number 9 horse. Just the extra half furlong might suit that runner if the other 2 favorites don't get it done on top.
Drew Coatney, how do you see kicking off this pick 4? Or I know you love those doubles. Who are you're looking to use in this spot?
Yeah, I love these conversations, by the way, because as a handicapper, we have to be open to all sorts of information. Michael, you made a great call out on number 9 PK as closing into some slow fractions, and I will be using that one as a backup. So good call there. I overlooked. I'm actually going with on top the number 4 Hard Street. There's a good story to tell here. Debut was facing some really actually stakes maidens that our flash drive has come back and really proved that form and that effort was honest. And Hard Street tried to keep up with them and had to fade early. So she couldn't quite get it done there. Then an off the turf event, not much urging until asked around the turn and kind of got the job done easily. It was a little sneaky of a good win there. And then came back on the turf, and that experiment didn't go great to plan. So I think Hard Street's going to be a really good horse to beat. Draws on the inside. It should have what I would imagine to be the cleanest trip with all the speed there. The other horse I'm going to use is Hazelbrook for all the reasons Michael had mentioned as well. I think it was a really clean trip and could continue to step forward, especially as a 3-year-old. These building blocks, you keep seeing them move forward. I am playing against the 8 Imagery. The form is exposed. The final time form US figure is on par with some of these upside types still. So I just feel like number 8 Imagery, we're not going to find any value. I'm fading that one in this spot here.
Let's talk about race number 8, 3-and-up starter allowance types going 7 furlongs on the turf here at Woodbine. Drew, we're going to keep it with you.
Yeah, I think this is going to come down to a jockey decision in the first 100 yards. Number 8, Pound Green with Emma Jane is going to get this one established early up on the rail. And I just see this one having that good position early. And last out was trying to close into that slow pace and did so pretty well. And today, again, I don't think there's going to be any pace. I think Emma Jane will put this one up and near the lead, and I'm going to go with the number 8 Pound Green. I'll also be using the number 5 Long Pond. I thought was impressive, really rallying into the hot parts of the race going wide, and then had a lead change issue. So if he can get that sorted out, I think that figure gets to be projected up even higher than the 73 buyer that was earned on that day, 96 final time from US. And then lastly, you just have to use the defensive, the number 1 Disseminator. Has the best figures in the field and could get the ground saving trip. I think we'll run into a wall of horses in these optional claimer events that typically happen as some of the better horses get stuck in traffic down on the rail. So in order, I'm going the 8, the 5, and the 1.
That's interesting what you said about the pace, Drew, just because looking on Timeform US, it actually projects it as a fast pace. We'll bring in Michael to give his assessment of the pace in this 8th race at Woodbine, and then of course to let us know who he wants on his tickets.
Yeah, I'm more in the camp of Timeform US. I think it could heat up a little bit on the front end. But for as far as Pound Green is concerned, I think that runner's tactical enough that it can sit off the pace and make that one run and close into it. And I actually like that one on that gelding on top as well. But kind of picking apart through this field, you could really make a case for any of the 9 runners. And with the 20-cent increment at Woodbine, you can kind of get yourself into a little bit of trouble of saying, oh, I can throw another one in. It doesn't cost that much. But I think as a horse player, you kind of have to rein it in a little bit and think, you're going to lose equity on that investment if you use too many. So the more I looked at the race, the more I liked Pound Green. One thing that Drew didn't mention, but I think is worth mentioning is that rally through the stretch in the last turf race. Or the eventual runner-up kind of came over on the field and hindered his run a little bit down the lane. So I think with a clean run into a projected fast pace, that one can get it done here. And then as far as backups, I think the 2 Drew mentioned are the ones that I would use as well. I'm a little bit curious about Decimator showing up with the $40,000 tag attached to him, especially how well he's running the 2 turf starts of 2021. But I think the form's still solid enough that you want to use it somewhere on the tickets.
Lots of agreement in race number 8. Let's see if it's more of the same in race number 9, where we've got 2-year-old maiden fillies with a whole lot of money in the pot, 126,000. We're 1.70 miles on the synthetic. Michael, who's your idea of the winner?
Well, you would think that I would go to number 4, Gina, because she's kind of a kindred spirit of mine, going from Colonial and shipping her tack up to Woodbine.
This is your journey, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I'm going to play a little bit against her. This filly has an absolutely impeccable pedigree. The dam was Grade 1 winner. Music Note makes her a half to Dubai World Cup winner Mystic Guide. But you'd think with that type of pedigree, they might campaign this filly a little bit differently than debuting 5 on the dirt at Colonial and then shipping up to the synthetic at Woodbine. So I'll try to take her on with 2 runners. The first being Equinedge, number 6 for DJ Stable and Mark Cassie. Got a useful education in her debut, going long on the turf, one of the only ones with route experience in the field. And then she sold at the OBS sale, which is actually when they do the works, they're working over the synthetic track. So I think working 10 1/5 at that sale shows that she can handle it. And then, you could see that improvement first out to second out. So I think that one's definitely worth using. My top pick, though, will be Strega, number 3, going second out for Kevin Attard. This one kind of had the look that it needed the race first out, and this barn does better second out than first. She was kind of rallying down the stretch, just kind of figuring out what she needed to do. And I think moving from sprint to route, kind of off that gallop out, off that experience in the first start, I think Strega can be really interesting and take down the overbet favorite, Gina, based on the human connections and the pedigree and all the glitz and glamour that's associated with that.
I like that way of looking at the world. Drew, is it how you look at the world? Where are you with Gina, and who's going to win?
Yeah, I'm same with the Gina fade narrative. And so I'm on a horse that is probably my strongest play of the day is the number 1 Classic Queen. You just go back and look at that effort last out, was wide, made a move around the turn and just flattened out. And the jockey had this one wrapped up like at the top of the stretch and was still passing horses. It felt a little sneaky for a barn that's doing very well. And this one finally gets to draw in inside of the 9 post. Both starts have been from the 11 and the 9 and have suffered because of it. And I don't think ever really wanted to go those sprint distances. Maybe the breeding experts can tell me otherwise, but just looking at the basic, wanting to still run, yet jockey having this one wrapped up. Kimura gets aboard, so can't be complaining about that too much either. The other 2 that I'll be using, Equinedge is my second choice, more logical, but the price I would imagine is going to drift down. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see some odd flips of Gina and Equinedge where Equinedge gets below 2-1. And then the number 5 Loaded Vixen was coming out of that same race as Classic Queen, and it just felt like there is still something left in the tank there, just visually watching the jockey's behavior on this one. Miranda's been improving, and I even think we've heard some of the pundits on our airwaves say Miranda's been a great improving jockey as well. So I'm going to go with those 2 in order, 1, 6, and 5 for this tough route maiden event.
It's interesting because I had the same inclination that you two had to fade Gina, and knowing how horse racing works, maybe that means the viewers and listeners should single her, but we'll all win or lose together. It sounds like, at least in terms of approach, in Woodbine's 9th race on Saturday. Let's talk about our nightcap 3 and up filly and mare claimers, 15,000, mile and a 16th on the turf. And Drew, we'll send it back to you to ask you the key question. How are we going to get paid?
Oh my gosh, let's just use the 20-cent increment and do all button when I'm starting to look at this. It's just so eye-crossing, isn't it? I'm going to go with a logical horse, the number 3, Rapunzel's Dream. I think 7-2 is still too short for me to take in the win pool, but gets to go back on the outer 1-turn distance on debut for the 2021 campaign, ran there at the 25 tag level, and did so well closing into slower parts of the race, and then came back on the inner 2-turn events and just didn't like that. And when I see a horse well back early, like we did in the last outing where it's fast and far back, I think maybe this one will benefit from having more opportunity to run going the 1-turn event that is the mile and the 16th. Maybe this one's grindy style where Rapunzel's Dream is definitely making up ground late in those events and gets the drop in class today. So again, we're going to take the Kimura double here, and if we hit, we'll be making some money. The other logical, number 5, Cool Society, I just think it's a closer, is about on the same par as Rapunzel. I just don't think it's going to give us better trip. And then one I've been chasing for a while as a fanboy a little bit is the number 2, Stormy Vision. We gave out on this airwaves as an underneath use play at 32-1 on July 15th, came back on the inner. Again, that same aspect of far back early because doesn't like those tight 2 turns. And Anita Crigio just got an absolute setup on that day. Number 2, Stormy Vision, I think can have a chance to close into this as well with some race luck. And I think that's what this race is going to come down to. So in the win pools, taking a short price might be not the direction to go.
So are you thinking the 3 more is an A and the 5 and the 2 is backups?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep.
All right, Michael, how about you? Is there consensus here in our nightcap?
We're pretty much on the same page as Drew, and I think he made a really good point in that Woodbine is unlike any other place with how big of a difference there is between the inner turf and the outer turf. Yes. The configurations there, and I really think that the 3 runners coming out of that August 21st claiming event are going to like the configuration on the outer turf a little bit better as closing types. So Drew mentioned the 3 Rapunzel's Dream and the 5 Cool Society. I think those are logical uses. But I went to the 7 Stormy Derby Day because I think she's going to be the longest price of the 3. And you're going to get her coming 3rd off the long layoff or 3rd off a bit of a layoff. And that race before she went on the break at Gulfstream is probably good enough to win here. And I think in the last start, they got all 3 of them kind of got a fast pace to close into. But I thought Stormy Derby Day had the most trouble getting clear in the stretch. And then once she did, the running was all but over. So the jockey didn't persevere too much in the stretch to try to rally and get anything more than 6th. So I think 3rd off the bench, with a little bit better racing luck on a configuration of a turf course that might be more suited. I'll go with Stormy Derby Day on top, but using those other two as well to close out the pick 4.
Go ahead.
Drew.
Last race there on Stormy Derby Day at Gulfstream, 3 winners out of that race as well. So I think you're barking up the right tree with that approach.
That's very interesting. Michael, were you thinking sort of a 3A approach or an A with 2 backups?
Yeah, I was thinking a 3A approach, and then since Stormy Derby Day is going to be the longest price, you get that extra equity using them equal weighted with Stormy Derby Day, the longest price of the 3.
Great stuff. I've really enjoyed talking over this Woodbine pick 4 with you guys. We'll be playing. There's a lot of races between Saratoga for folks who are going to be up here. Have Woodbine on your simulcast screen and get involved with them and Del Mar as well on Saturday. We got you covered here on the network. Michael and Drew, thank you so much for your time today.
Cheers.
Kentucky Downs is just about upon us. We're going to be having all kinds of coverage between on the main shows and also doing some extra plus coverage for Kentucky Downs. But the thing we're really looking to push is this turf handicapping challenge. It's going to be really cool. A tournament like no other, interconnected series of 3 contests. Each contest lasts 2 days. At the end, a turf handicapping champion will be named. You can go and get more information, but I'll give you the dates first and foremost. Sunday, September 5th and Monday, September 6th. That's the first one. Then Wednesday, September 8th and Thursday, the 9th is the next one. And then Friday, the 11th and Saturday, the 12th. Those will be the 6 days covered every day of the meet. Full fields, low takeout, fabulous prizes. What more do you want? Check it out. Don't lose out on the opportunity to be named the turf handicapping champion. Go ahead for more information and look at inthemoneypodcast.com/KingTurf. I probably should have created another pretty link, inthemoneypodcast.com/QueenTurf, because who knows what the sex of the winner of this thing is going to be. But anyway, inthemoneypodcast.com/KingTurf is the place to go for more information about the turf handicapping challenge at Kentucky Downs. Last but not least on the show, we're going to look ahead to racing action on Sunday from our friends at Kentucky Downs. You've already heard about the 3 handicapping contests interconnected that are going to be going on. This next guest is going to be playing in the more than that. He comes by special request of professional player Mike Maloney. When we did our little Kentucky Downs preview show earlier in the week, he specifically said, I hope you get Jack Jenkins on to talk about these races. And here he is, folks. Jack, how are things?
Oh, great, Pete. How are you?
I'm doing well. You got any good green egg projects working lately?
I did some steak sandwiches last night for the Vols game. They turned out really well. Going back and forth between the Traeger and the green egg. So yeah.
That's good stuff. We got 2 potential sponsors for us to pursue down the line. We had the wood oven going last night, but I want to get that egg to roll one more time. But I've broken down. My neighbors in Brooklyn, Jack, are going to hate me because I've gotten a green egg for the backyard in Brooklyn. There's gonna be some interesting some interesting conversations.
Are you gonna smoke them out?
I'm hoping not. I'm hoping it's just they're all going to be looking for invitations to come and eat the brisket. That's what we're hoping for.
There you go.
See. Will there be any? You mentioned you'll be going to Kentucky Downs in person, maybe doing some tailgating. What is that typically? What's the tailgating scene like at Kentucky Downs for the uninitiated?
Well, I think it was 3 years ago, or maybe 2 years ago. With all this COVID stuff, I've lost track of the years.
We all have.
But yeah, you just kind of back the truck up and throw out some cornhole boards and a couple coolers and walk up to the fence there around the top of the stretch. It's a really great view on. It's a really right where we usually park is. You can get a really good feel on who's going to, win sometimes, and who's really has horse at that point of the race. So it's really fun to go there in person and tailgate and watch them. As a rail bird right by the outer fence.
It sounds like a great day out, and I'm going to do it at some point. It's a little tricky with the timing, trying to get out of here and get down there. I almost did it this year, but I think it's just might be a bridge too far. I might be locked out of my house when I come back if I try to go to Kentucky Downs this year. So we're going to skip that, but very excited to talk about it with you. We're going to look at this late pick 5 on the opening Sunday card. It kicks off with race number 7, a 3-and-up allowance for fillies and mares, going 6.5 on this non-traditional Kentucky Downs turf, an oversubscribed field. How are you going to approach this one?
Well, the number 6 Flying Fortress. I mean, for people that like watching replays, she couldn't have had a more stylish debut at Colonial Downs for Shug McGahee, and you know she may have caught. She just may be better than these. I don't know. The number 13 for Mike Maker, Amalfi Princess. If she draws in, she's the first one on the AE list. If she draws in, she'll take plenty of money. You know, she's only won one race, so she's eligible for these conditions. She's got 4 seconds. But the number 6, I mean, she's 1 for 1, and he's bringing her right back. So she looks to have quite the future. And I'll just throw one more horse out there, 261. She's interesting. She should be a prize play. These non-winners of 2 lives. So I think she could sneaky play in here.
All right, some interesting ideas there. Looking to center around the 6, the 13, and the 11 to kick things off at Kentucky Downs. I was a little curious about the 5 American Goddess as a pace angle, but I don't know. A Ward, shorter sprinter. I mean, this 6.5 at Kentucky Downs, it's almost like going a mile. How do you think that one's going to be able to perform here?
Yeah, the middle distance. You get a lot of these coming from the 5 furlong, 5.5. Then you get a lot of your milers cutting back. So it really makes for some interesting handicapping. But yeah, she definitely fits. I mean, she's had a lot of chance. She should be out front though. I mean, most West Ward's horses are. So, she's improved a little bit since he's put the blinkers on her. But, she only ran once early on at Saratoga, which is a little interesting. I don't know why he didn't try to find another spot to run her back a second time up there. But, I mean, she definitely fits here for sure.
Let's move on to race number 8. We've got 2-year-old fillies, maiden special weight, going 6.5 on the turf. Jack, who are you going to play in here?
Well, the number 3 and the number 8, the number 3 for Steve Asmussen and the number 8 for Vicky Oliver, are coming out of common races at Ellis Park. This is a very lightly raced bunch here of 2-year-old fillies. So, they look, watching their replay this morning, they really should both get a lot out of their debut. That race was won in wire-to-wire fashion by My Dawn. And, both of these didn't have much of a trip or setup. So, especially the number 8, the Curlin filly, it looks like the longer the better for her. So those 2 for sure will be A's for me. And as you go to the outside, the 2 best looking first time starters, the number 10 Queen Judith for Mark Cassie, the number 11 Robin Hill for Brad Cox. Looks like Brad Cox and Joel Rosario are teaming up, and it looks like they could have a big opening day.
I like that idea. One that I wanted to ask you about was number 6 in this race, Delight of the Nile. Looks to me on pedigree like might be suited by the switch to the turf. And I just like it's the kind of running line I don't mind betting back for a second-time starter after they attack the fast pace and just fade. I feel like sometimes you can get value. Would you include Delight of the Nile in your thoughts at all?
Yeah, CJ Thoroughbreds are going to be wanting to win a race at Kentucky Downs for sure. So, yeah, that horse showed good tactical speed on debut, and I think she'll only improve.
Another one maybe to keep in the mix. It's tricky. These races, I mean, you can really make cases for a whole lot of runners in most of these races. How do you approach that betting-wise? Mike talked about, trying to be a bit more inclusive without going crazy. Find that key and then maybe include more horses than you normally would around them. So there's an opportunity to use 4 or 5 horses potentially in a race. Do you do something similar betting wise, or do you try to narrow it down?
It just depends on each card is different. Each race is different. This opening day card, Pete, the last couple of years, on the opening weekend, they start at Kentucky Downs with a rail really far out, and then they move it down. And then the end of the meet, when they run the, real big races, they'll have it down on the, at the new rail at the lowest setting. They put a nice new rail in there, so that should be a lot better. But what I'm getting at, the last couple of years when they first started the meet with the rail really far out, you would think most turf courses, the further they move the rail out, the more it tends to favor the front runners.
Yep.
Well, what I saw the last few years, it was that rail really far out, and they're running on the outer part of the turf course. There's a little bit more banking, I think, out there, and you really see some over-the-top slingshot closers. And I'm going to be watching that early on in the card and seeing how speed is holding, seeing just where the horses that are making the runs are coming from. And that may affect how I structure a late pick 5 more than really anything.
It makes perfect sense. So that's a great note for people to look out for and paying attention to that rail position and how it affects the flow of these races. Let's move on to race number 9. We've got $500,000 in the pot for the Exacta Systems Dueling Ground Oaks, 1 mile and 5/16 for these 3-year-old fillies. Jack, who's your idea of the winner?
I'm not sure I have anything clever here. I think the public will see it about the same as I have. Basically a 2-horse race. The number 6 Adventuring for the Brad Cox and Joel Rosario team. That horse she's been solid for Godolphin. It looked like, back this winter, she broke her maiden, by 6 lengths down at the fairgrounds on the dirt. Then she come back the next month and won a stake on the Poly at Turfway. And she's kind of just been running in place from then on since then. But she missed to a nice filly last time, Flippant, who come back to win a stake at Colonial Downs this week. And I think, the extra added distance and everything, I think she's probably the horse to beat here. The number 8 for Vicky Oliver. The Vicky Oliver Barnes really had a really nice summer the last 2 months. Really been going well, 20-something%. This Core Values is one of her last 3 starts on the grass. And last time, since Oliver had Flippant for the filly stake, she ran Core Values against the boys and won the Kentucky Downs preview at Ellis Park. So, she's coming back against fillies. I really think it might be a 2-horse race here between the 6 and the 8.
I had those 2 in my mix. I also wanted to try to do something with in the winner's circle, potentially number 3.
That would be my one backup. Yeah, 3rd off the layoff, Leparoux getting on, shipping in from Woodbine. I did see where Mark Cassie is 1 for 23 the past 2 years at Kentucky Downs, so that's a little cause for pause. But that horse should be in the money here.
When a horse has that kind of finish, I just expect them to like the more galloping configuration that we're going to see. That is a fascinating note about Cassie, because I had this theory that I floated to Mike that maybe I want to give a little extra credit. This was just spitballing, without looking at the data. But the idea of giving a little extra credit to horses who've done well on the main turf course at Woodbine, simply because it is the other turf course in North America that I describe as more of a galloping one. But I don't think it comes out in the numbers, in part because of that Cassie stat. And then it becomes one of these chicken or the egg things. Is something about his program that doesn't transfer, or was my hypothesis exactly wrong and Woodbine is a bad place to prep for Kentucky Downs. It's one of the storylines I'll be following throughout the meet here. Have you ever noticed anything about shippers from different courses who do well or don't do well at Kentucky Downs?
I feel like some of the Ellis Park numbers, I feel like Ellis, both turf and dirt, there's a lot of value to be had. I don't think they get a lot of flashy figures up there, especially with the 2-year-olds. You'll see a lot of 50-something buyers with 2-year-olds, and they'll go to Churchill and they'll win and pay $20-something and run a 80. So and it's the same way on the turf course. I don't know. I'm no figure maker. I don't pretend to be. Math was not my strong suit in school. So I'll leave that to the experts like Craig Mikowski and all those guys. But Ellis just, I don't know. There seems to be plenty of value plays coming from there. I think a lot of the Saratoga shippers, like they'll take all the money, but then you can catch some like Vicky Olivers and Joe Sharps and barns like that at really good prices at Ellis Park.
Let's talk about
coming from Ellis Park.
Let's talk race number 10, my friend. The Big Ass Fans. Gotta love giving them the extra plug. Dueling Grounds Derby. These 3-year-olds going 1 mile and 5/16, 750 in the pot this time around. Who wins it?
Well, number 12, De Jure, looks to be the class of the field. Really at Churchill Downs, and another one that really I've kind of been chasing a little bit this year is from that Cassie barn, the number 5 Palazzi, I guess you would say. I think that horse is the value of the race, and I'll probably be looking to key some exactas and trifectas around that runner, who hopefully will be rolling late.
If I forced you to make a top pick between the 12 and the 5, would you call it 5-12?
Yeah, 5-12, and then I think you also got to look at the number 8 Cellist from the Rusty Arnold barn. Julian, if he can get the front end, he really has a knack for controlling the pace, and that horse has a touch of class about him. He run third, I think, in the Belmont Derby up there 2 back, and in the number 3, Yes This Time, that horse is just a win machine, a horse you really like to root for, and one I'd love to own. Think he won like 4 or 5 straight at one point. So you got to respect him. He definitely has a nose for the wire.
I was thinking there was a chance this pace could really melt down, and that would favor the likes of Palazzi, who you mentioned, and also Yes This Time. I think
he'd be a really nice horse to catch in this late pick 5 if you could get a horse like him home at like 8-1 or something in that area that could really juice things up.
All right, we just got a couple of minutes left, Jack, but only one more race to discuss. We've got 3 and up filly and mare maiden special weights going 6.5 on the turf with 135,000 in the pot in this spot. Talking about a horse that might have a little bit of a pace advantage. I was drawn to number 10, 6 feet apart, but I got to ask you, how are we going to get paid?
Well, another horse I've chased a little bit this year, the number 4, Nota Bene. I believe I'm saying that correctly.
That was perfect pronunciation. I would have thought you were Italian.
Are not my cup of tea, but yeah, I think this distance could, it's one of those like we talked about earlier, that middle distance. I really think, the 5.5 is in the 5s are just, a little too sharp for this runner, and maybe she'll just appreciate this extended 1-turn race. I really think this is a good spot for her. And then I went to the outside, the number 12 with Rosario. I think, if they are closing Saturday, who else would you rather have than Joel Rosario closing in these turf sprints and everything? A horse is only showing 2 works all summer, so that might be a cause for concern. But if that horse, I think you got to throw it in there, and a good outside post. And just one more, another from the Vicky Oliver barn. I hope she has a good day. If she has a good day, I'll have a good day. The number 2, Be Like Water. So with Bejarano, who is a very patient turf rider. And if the course is leaning toward closers, it will fall right in his lap.
I like the sound of it, man. Lots of good thoughts from you, Jack, on this pick 5. I mean, assuming you're playing every day and willing, we'd love to have you back to talk about at least one more of them. You think you might be willing to do that for us?
Absolutely. We just need to get together and tailgate and do one from the outer fence.
That is a plan. That is a plan for 2022. We're going to make that happen, especially if we continue partnering up with Kentucky Downs. Hey, we may have to be down there to present a trophy or something. Who knows? But Jack, thanks so much for your time. Godspeed. We'll be rooting for you in your quest to become named the turf handicapping champion in this 3 different contests across the 6 days at Kentucky Downs. We'll be looking for you on the leaderboard.
All right, let's go.
That's going to do it for this edition of the show. So many people to thank. We'll go back to front. How about that? So Jack Jenkins, great to get him talking about Kentucky Downs. Fabulous having Michael Domabyl on the Late Week Show for the first time, along with Drew Coatney, who always does such a good job covering Woodbine. Speaking of first-time guests, we had Brady Klotz. Great talking to him. Can't wait to check out his action hour on Thursday night, learning more about the Equinedge tool. Scotty McKeever, fantastic as ever. Also love them talking about the NHC as well. And up top, I mean, Steven Crist, the man's a legend. I wouldn't be here if not for him in so many ways. Just been such a great supporter and sharper than ever. I feel like I learned something every time I talk to that guy about racing. Great having him on the airwaves. Thanks also to our founding partners, Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. You can give to them at trfinc.org/players. You can also still we got a couple boxes left of this In the Money whiskey, this rye finished in the apple barrel. It's going quick. People are loving it. It's a cocktail in a glass, but a big hit up here in Saratoga this summer. But I'll tell you what, as good as it's been in the summer, it's an even better fall dram. Don't miss out because we're not going to make more when these sell out. So get yours today. trfinc.org/players. 10 Strike Racing, wonderful seeing them win races up here in Saratoga. We always root for the purple and black. Most of all, though, I want to thank all of you, the listeners, the viewers. You make these shows fun to do, and I have a feeling you came through for us, and we're going to be part of those ABR awards just based on the last voting that I saw. I think we got ourselves into the position we needed to be able to defend our title come November. You'll hear more about that. And it's not guaranteed either. So I am crossing my fingers and toes. No inside information here. But just based on the last reckoning of votes I saw, looked like we would be safely in the top 4, top 6, whatever it takes. This show has been a production of In the Money Media. I forgot to thank one more person. We're going to back up. Producer AJ coming through in spades with some tricky technology assignments today as well. Really just doing a great job for us today and every day in spelling DJ Unstable. Now we're ready to wrap it. We've been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kinchin. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos.
Just me and you.